Listen to the Vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I'm so blessed to have Mr. Mark Anthony Austin, and we're going to talk Star Wars. But before we get into Star Wars, I want to get to know the man. Tell me all about you. Where are you from? How you got in the business? Everything.
I'm from the UK. I'm from a tiny town on the outskirts of outer London. So where kind of London ends and Essex begins is where my tiny town was. So right on the edge. And it's a small town where, you know, everybody kind of left school and they got a job local to the town. Nobody ever left. Everyone grew up in the area and got old in the area and died in the area, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't foresee myself ever leaving, really. But I got a job in commercials. Luckily enough, someone saw my college film and they said, oh, I would like to hire you to make some commercials for mainly for Europe. And I did that for 5 years. And it was a thrill. It was a thrill just because the campaigns I worked on were campaigns that people had in their heads. You know, people were singing the tunes of the commercials I made. And but on commercials you get no credit. You know, who knows who made what. So it was animated commercials and drawn animation. This is before I got in the computer. I used to do the drawings. And I did that for 5 years. And then the guys who ran the company, they'd been going since the 50s. So they were retiring. They closed the company down and I was out of the job and completely depressed because I'm a bit of a workaholic. I'm not very good at idle. I have to have a project going on or something. But I just completely, I thought that's my dream job. I thought this is exactly what I want to do. I love working in art. I love working in making films. I kind of reached a dead end and I was depressed and I was in Turkey. I'd already paid for this vacation in Turkey. And I had a call from a friend in England saying, oh, I've just been to a lecture. There's a lecture in London about how they did the special effects for Jurassic Park. I said, wow, that's cool. That's really cool. Well, why are you calling me? He goes, well, because afterwards I hung out and I ended up going out with these guys for a drink. I was like, that's cool. He goes, yeah, and they're looking for animators. And I'm like, what, you mean like pencil and paper? No, computer animators. I said, well, Steve, I don't know the first thing about computers. He goes, no, they want to, in the past, it'd been technical guys who knew the computer animating and learning animation, which is a much longer learning curve to learn an art form, you know, animation, rather than take an animator, teach them the software in 8 weeks, and then you've got yourself a computer animator. So ILM were crewing up. They're trying to find a crew big enough to do this movie. It was one of the first character-based movies, Casper. It was in 1995. They released it.
Yeah.
But they wanted a full, you know, character animating, computer animating crew. And, you know, just those people didn't exist. So they literally were training us guys to become like the forerunners for computer animation, you know. And so that's how I got into the business, is literally from my friend going to this lecture on how they did the special effects to bring the dinosaurs to life. And so I've never looked back. I've never gone back to. I found I was much faster at computer animation than I was drawn animation. Mm-hmm. I'm a perfectionist. I'm an artist as well, and my boss hated me because all my lines would be, you know, neat, and the tracers loved me. But my boss, he's like, yeah, you should scribble. Just get them. They'll clean it up. No, because I hated when they trace the eyes. They trace the eyeballs, you know, slightly Bart Simpson. Like, no, they're looking this way, not this way. They're looking this way, and I'd be like criticizing how they inked my lines. My boss hated me. Like, you just take too long. You take too long. Don't worry about it. But I did. But computer, everything's perfect. You know, there's no other person kind of destroying, you know, or devaluing the work you've done, by tracing over it badly. As you do computer animation, it's there. So you can see it immediately. And there's no having to render it. It was an immediate playback. And I thought that Casper was a one-off. I said to my mother, she was at the airport, and it was an 18-month contract I'd signed. And I was at Gatwick Airport in England, and I said to her, "Oh, okay, Mum, I'll see you after work." This is a joke. And she bawled her eyes out. I don't want to leave her crying. Bawled her eyes out and didn't take that joke well. And I said, "Don't worry, I'll be back in 18 months." And 18 months later, I was finishing my last shot on Casper. And, they bumped me up to Casper lead. They bumped me up to the supervising animator for Casper, like during the training course. So I finished my last job, Casper was all done. And I said, they said, "You've got to go see HR." So I thought I was going to go up there to find out for my flight details. And when I went up there, they said, "Oh no, we've got you down as full-time staff. Is that okay?" And I was like, "Sure. What's my next job?" And they said, "You're going on to New Hope." I'm like, "Really?" So I went on to do the creature effects in New Hope. But obviously the Boba Fett shoot, that Boba Fett shoot happened in the middle of Casper. I didn't know I was going to ever be working on the creatures. That happened as a completely other story, separate from me landing this job as creature animator, as a story within itself. But everyone thinks the two are related. But I did the creature effects and I got to jump in the suit. But I got to jump in the suit 6 months before ever being hired for doing the animation. We were chatting before we started, and it's obvious that you are as big a Star Wars fan as I am. So this is why I try and tell the people at the cons, because there's all the actors there next to me, and for the actors, it was just another job.
Right.
Yeah, it was a great job, Star Wars, with all the successes that followed. But at the time, it was just another job for them. So it's like, "Oh, what do I do? You put this costume on. Okay, what have I got to do? Oh, you're a bounty hunter. You got to walk on, and blah blah blah, and look menacing." And it must have been a different mindset to somebody who had grown up from age 13, like completely obsessed with this character. Like, it was before Boba Fett, before the action figure mail away, send in all your proofs of purchase in 1979. Before that, I was obsessed with the Stormtrooper. Like the Stormtrooper, the helmet and the uniform, I just couldn't get enough of. But when Boba Fett came along, it was like the Stormtrooper took a back seat. Boba Fett was the guy, because I was a big Clint Eastwood, Fistful of Dollars, spaghetti western,
I've
Trinity
got them all.
movies. Yeah, all those. I love those. And so when I saw the bio for this action figure, all I saw was Clint Eastwood, and it has a poncho. He's a bounty hunter. He's got an air of mystery about him. He's the guy. He's like a gunslinger. I completely dropped the Stormtrooper, dropped him, and became obsessed with this Boba Fett character. So being obsessed with over decades of this character and then getting the opportunity to jump in the suit, it was a different experience for me than it could have been for any actor. Maybe the actors now that worked on The Mandalorian, those probably have a similar story to me, or could have. But when we're doing the cons, and I'm doing the cons with the original trilogy cast, and I'm the odd one out because I'm not like an actor. I'm a movie maker. I just happen to. But it's easier to put on my poster actor for Boba Fett, because otherwise people will just get confused.
Well, you had the mannerisms, that's for sure.
I studied and studied and studied. I studied Empire for Jeremy's walk. I was hoping to get a turn so I could get that head tilt, as you do the turn. But I was obsessed with the walk. And the first shot, this is the wrong blaster, but the first shot, I thought, okay, I'm going to just do a Jeremy Walk bullet. So I had the blaster, had it packed, comfortable. He said, no. it's a bad silhouette for the gun. We can't see the silhouette. So can you crank it around? Okay. More. I was like, really? Is that this? And yeah, walk casually like that. I thought this looks terrible, but you watch the movie and it looks perfect. But I was sure that first shot was ruined because I couldn't understand how this looked good on camera.
The original shot, there was some big old dude dressed up, supposed to be Jabba the Hutt. I guess they hadn't decided what Jabba was going to look like. Yeah. And then, of course, they left it out of the original.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it for Han Solo to step on his tail?
Okay, I was there because, you know, as I said, I got to work on the creatures. Mm-hmm. The only creature I didn't get to animate was Jabba because he was animated by a really famous animator, ILM, one of the heroes of ILM before I turned up, and I didn't know who he was, but Steve Williams, his name was. So Steve Williams was the guy. Steve Williams was the animator that did the water tentacle in the Abyss, that did the Terminator 2 walking out of the flames.
Oh, wow.
That did the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. So this was like, he was doing Jabba. And one time he called me into his office and said, can you help with a lip sync? So I went down, picking up the lip sync, because we were doing lip sync for 3D characters on Casper. It was one of the first hurdles we had to find a way of, you know, how are we going to do this? So I went to look at this lip sync on his Jabba model, and he said, you know what? Because I'd be really okay if you just took Jabba and just did all the creatures. I'm like, no, I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that. But anyway, to answer your question, there was a time when Han just walked around the back, and it wasn't great, but it worked. It was all right. And then somebody said, what about the tail? And I said, who cares about the tail? You know, who cares? It's one of those movie tricks. Like, nobody will care. I don't think anyone would care that he's walking through his tail. We just say that he flipped it to the other side or something, you know? Oh no, and they start getting worried about it. Rick McCallum was all worried about it. It's like getting obsessed about it. Like, oh no, this is wrong. Oh no, please don't mess with it. And then they started doing that whole lifting the plate up and down. It looked fine before. It looked fine as it was before. I don't know why they ever opened that can of worms, but they did. They opened a lot of can of worms that they shouldn't have. But that was one of them. And just to set the record straight, I left before the whole Han shot.
Really?
Shooting second happened. I thought all I had to do was creatures. So it was all Mos Eisley creatures mainly, and dewbacks in the desert. And that was it. Like land speeders, robots in Mos Eisley, all that kind of robots, and scurriers, Jawas. That god awful rearing up shot that is a whole other story in itself. But yeah, I thought it was a vicious rumor. I thought when I heard that it was a possibility, I was like, no. There was a time that we got called into the theater, and George wanted to see the detention room rescue, when they go down to rescue Princess Leia from the detention room. He wanted to see a version of that edit. So he wanted that edit, and any shot that had a stormtrooper or an officer he wanted yanked out, and in the place put in one of the shots of like a sensor being blown up or a camera being blown up. And so he got us all into the theater to watch it, to give notes. And so they arrive at the detention center. There's all these officers and troopers. Where are you taking this thing? You know? And then shoot. And then there's no one around. I thought, where did everyone go? And so everyone put the same note in, said, it makes no sense because you never see anyone get shot. It's just, there's just people there, shoot, and there's no people. It's like, it doesn't work. He said, you're right. I just wanted to see it, try it. It doesn't work. Silly me, scrap it. And I thought the same thing must be true of Han not shooting first. I thought he's probably tried it, put it in the theatre, done the same things he did with us, got some people in to get some fresh eyes. What do you think of this? And I'm sure people would have said, that takes away from Han's character arc. He's got to be the scoundrel,
Right.
to become a hero. You know, he's got to start the opposite of the hero so that he has an arc. So I was sure that it was bogus. And the only time I saw it was when I was watching the premiere in Man's Chinese Theatre. And I couldn't believe I couldn't believe they went for it. So, like I said, there's been cans of worms opened. Some that I've been a part of, like that Ronto rearing up conundrum. I was part of that. I was the voice of reason, saying, "Please, it's an establishing shot. We really don't need to have any business happen." And I animated it just there was a Ronto going this way, speeder bike weaves through. I thought I was done, and I showed it in dailies, and George suddenly fixated on the fact there was no one leading the Ronto. So I said, well, that's an easy fix. We can have someone sitting on the back of the Ronto if you want, and have them holding the ropes. Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. But do we have any Jawas? No, we don't have any Jawas. But we can get some, you know, all the yes men. Yeah, but we can get some for you, Mr. Lucas. Don't worry, we can make that for you. Okay, let's have a Jawa. Let's have a Jawa sitting in the back. I was like, okay, well, I can go with this. That's fine. And then he said, I know, let's have two Jawas on the back. Because I think when the speeder comes past, he should rear up like a horse. I'm like, oh, God. So I'm just seeing more work for me as well. But it wasn't out of laziness that I was arguing. I mean, I'm not a lazy animator. It's not like I don't want to animate or it's going to be too difficult to animate. I love the challenge. I just didn't see the point of it. And then it became a bigger thing and said, oh no, let's have it rear up. And when it comes down, he falls off and he's hanging from the front and he's hanging on this rope. And the other guy falls off the back and his dust comes up. And I'm like, oh my God, where's this? Why? And within 6 minutes, it ballooned into this ridiculous scenario. The Rontos weren't, normally you design a Ronto and you'd fit a skeleton to work within it. But George had this idea of recycling. He had this grand idea that in the computer you could recycle. That's why the stack battle droids happen. You recycle, you can use the same animation. You recycle it into the computer. So he took the Brachiosaur skeleton and just chucked on the Ronto on the outside. And for the Scurriers, they were velociraptors with new skin. But the thing is that no one had thought about where the bone placement was relative to the skin, you know, where the pivot point was. So when the Ronto put his head back, the chest kind of, it was almost like a accordion, because the spine was towards the back. So a small movement at the back has a big movement in the front. And so all the chest was like heaving, and it became this technical nightmare that the TDs had to work out to calm the skin down. And it just was I didn't understand why we'd ever opened up that can of worms. There were a few that I actually managed to divert. There was a shot where the shot was an ugly shot. It was just a Dubac's butt in camera, walking away from camera, and stormtroopers. And I was like, okay, what it is, I blocked out in the 3D space. I blocked out that shot. And then I did another version where I had the Dubac facing the camera, stormtrooper, and he pulls the reins, and then the Dubac comes around. Oh, so this was the shot before. Ugly, right? It's just his butt walking away from camera. And I said, well, how have we have one looking towards the camera? And he says, come on, let's go this way. And then it goes around and then goes off. So everything hooks up on the end. It just doesn't have that big, ugly butt in the camera. And I put two versions of the shot into dailies. And the producer, Tom Kennedy, he said, what's this? How come you got two shots? And I said, well, the other one's an alternate version. Oh, no, you can't have that. That's disrespectful to Mr. Lucas. You have to yank it out. And I tried arguing, and they said, no, yank it out. So I went upstairs and I was hovering over the delete button, and I just couldn't push it. I couldn't. I thought, I'll be damned. I'm just going to take the flat. So there we were in Daly's. There was Daly's was projecting in the middle. There was George Lucas in his San Anselmo house at the top. There was Rick McCallum at the ranch up here, and there was a camera pointed at us at the bottom, and Daly's was in the middle. And the Daly's, we played it all the way through, and then we went to each one and looped it. So he's playing them all through, and suddenly this shot comes up. The shot comes up, bam, ba, bam, ba, bam, that one goes in. They're all happy, and then this other one comes up, and George is like, "What's this?" And I said, "Oh, my hand goes up at the back. I'm at the back of the camera." I said, "Sorry, Mr. Lucas, that's an alternate version. That's version B, I called it." "Oh, okay." And I could see the producer's face was purple. He couldn't say anything He was on the spot. And George ended up picking that version. I mean, if I had followed what he told me to do, that would never be in the film. I've been a bit of a rebel in Hollywood. I've got a reputation for being a bit of a rebel.
And what better movie to be a rebel on but Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Did you catch a lot of the little mistakes here and there?
It took me a long time to see that stormtrooper hit his head. It took a long time. I didn't see it for years. And when I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. But
you know, Mos Eisley, when they were in the cantina, there was a few really cool mistakes in there if you paid attention. One of them, that little mouse-looking creature that was at the bar, when it was grabbing a drink, if you watch, he puts it on his chin and drinks instead of his mouth. And then there's the big-headed blue aliens. One of them has giant hands and the other one has human hands. I'm like, nobody has caught that before. But it took me a while before I noticed it. But there's so many things, you know, C-3PO falling off of a step, and, you know, there's a bunch of them. But I love it. I love those. Magic. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I said, I don't ever think they should have touched the Harlan burrito scene. They should have left that alone. I really wish they hadn't done the Wonto rearing shot. But for the other stuff, I mean, if someone other than George Lucas came up and said, I want to add some stuff that I did isn't in the original, I would have been, you should leave it. I would have been a bit on the fence about it. But because it's George asking for it, I mean, if there's anyone has the right to say, you know what, I hate those pink flames when the wire wings blow up. I hate the fact that all the blue screen pulled out the color so they look pink. I want yellow flames. I want proper flame-looking flames.
Right.
And I can't argue with that. If I can help that happen, then great. No, I think he had every right to say there were things I wanted to do, I couldn't because of the limitations of optical effects back then, or budget, or whatever. And when I worked on New Hope, they were never going to, when I was there, they were never going to do an Empire or Jedi. And so if I had known they were going to do an Empire and Jedi, I would have stayed. I would have stayed around. I wouldn't have left for Disney. And so I would have probably been I know I would have been in Return of the Jedi Special Edition on Jabba's Palace had I not left. But damn it, oh well.
Before we started in the review, I told you how Star Wars Disney is just, it feels like they don't like us fans. They're pushing some kind of weird agenda, and they're changing everything, and it's heart-wrenching for this stuff to happen, especially something that we've loved for all these years. I mean, it's been 40 some odd years since the original one came out. To take something like the lore of Boba Fett. The spaceship has always been called Slave One. It has nothing to do with the slavery that has gone on in the world. It's
another galaxy.
Right.
It's a galaxy not far, far away enough, apparently.
that was always Fett's ship.
Yeah.
Nobody ever really thought about it being anything other than that was the name of his ship.
Yeah.
And now they're
Exactly.
politicizing it and making it something that it's not.
Yeah, they're putting that thought into the minds of people that never had that thought.
Exactly.
That's the thing that just bothers me. Is like, I wish they, like I meant that said, I wish they would look at the one. The slave one is what differentiates it from slave. You know, oh, what's slave one? Oh, that's Boba Fett ship. Or if you don't know Star Wars, what's slave one? I have no clue. It could be anything. Tell me, I know what slave is. Slave one, I don't know. What is that? So just to inject, for them to kind of inject that into the heads of fans, that's what, the press were quick to say outraged. They were outraged was what I read. And like I said, I was more saddened by the fact that something precious to me was being messed with and potentially taken away.
Right.
Like I don't want my ship. I would say my ship. I don't want Slave One to be taboo. Like I don't want that. I don't want that name to be taboo. It's a great name. It's befitting. It has an ominous edge to it, befitting of Boba Fett. It's perfect. And like I said, it's nothing to do with Earth. This is another galaxy.
Right.
We completely remove anything that's going on or has gone on here. So I was upset more than outraged, and people were asking me my opinion, and I like, unlike you, I try to not go anywhere near anything negative and anything political.
Right.
Try and keep everything positive, but I kept getting asked and asked and asked. And when I was first asked, I didn't understand what they were asking me about because I don't keep up with it so much. I never have, even since a kid. I never watched the news. I find I'm terrible for. I find that the news from other people, and then I don't know. So people were asking me, "What do you feel about the name change?" And I didn't know what they're talking about. What changing the name of what? And then I found out about the rebranding of that Lego set. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm hoping it is just confined to that Lego set and that future packaging has Slave One on it. But I can't see it myself. I can't see it just knowing Disney. I can't see it. I'm hoping that it's not the end of the name. Because like I said, it's something I've carried since 1980. I didn't know about it when they did the offer for the figure. So Boba Fett was 1979, but I guess Slave One was 1981 movie. And I just fell in love with the ship. If they changed the Millennium Falcon, I'd be equally upset.
Oh, right.
It's the fun thing about the Star Wars galaxy is that the names that George Lucas chose, nobody's ever questioned. They're perfect. The Millennium Falcon is a perfect name for that ship. No one ever thinks that's a weird name, Millennium Falcon. It works. Slave One works. It's just, I don't know. I'm saddened at the prospect that it could be the end of the name as far as the packaging and stuff. When after the original trilogy, I really wanted to like the prequels more than I did. I honestly, I thought if I watch it enough times, so I went to see New Phantom Menace 5 times in the theater just to try and get over this thing I had. I couldn't embrace it the same way as the original trilogy, and I hated the fact that it was George Lucas directing it. I should be in love with this, and I just wasn't as much. And then it got to a point where I was thinking, maybe I'm just one of these jaded people that hates everything that isn't the original trilogy. And I was kind of sad at myself for being that kind of person. I was disappointed that my love for Star Wars was just confined to those 3 movies, and that was it. Even though I haven't been able to embrace the new movies, the sequels, prequels and sequels, I just haven't been to embrace. But The Mandalorian and those two movies I mentioned, I could see Star Wars.
Ray, I would not have had a problem with in the sequels if they would have developed the character like they developed Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time, learn these things. You don't just automatically pick up a lightsaber and you can fight somebody that's been training for however long Adam Driver's character was supposed to become a Sith. And train. Don't cheapen everything. You had a character in Finn that there was a great story there, and they just left it hanging.
Went off.
Yeah,
went off in the second movie and came back at the end, and that was it.
I really would have liked to seen them develop his character as well. I mean, there was so many characters in those movies that if they had done it right, I think it would have turned out better. I wasn't too crazy about the whole Rey being Palpatine's granddaughter kind of thing. That just was too far-fetched for me. I would have liked to see them have the characters from the books be in there, where you had the I believe Solo and Leia had 3 children in those books.
Yeah.
I would have loved that story, but they ruined it for me. So I hope they do fix it. The rumor is that they're going to make a whole new sequel trilogy, and the other one be like an alternate universe or something. I don't know, but just get it out of canon. That's my problem.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if it's just Star Wars ships and a whole story about something else that's happening in another corner of the galaxy. There must be other outer rims in the galaxy, like kind of corners that things going to happen undetected from the Empire or whoever's in charge. I don't know. Yeah, that's why I really. Before Mandalorian came out, there was all these rumors about the Boba Fett movie. So I'm in London. I'm on the stage at the London Film and Comic Con. There's Jeremy Bulloch. There's 4 chairs. There's Jeremy Bulloch. There's me. There's Alan Harris, and there's Dickie Beer. And we're all on this stage. It was like a big deal. It was like 4 Boba Fetts.
Right.
So someone asked the question, what about the rumor of the Boba Fett movie? And Jeremy has the mic. There's one microphone we have to pass between us. So Jeremy's got the microphone. Yeah, you can answer all the questions, Jeremy. You are the man. Someone says, what do you think about the new movie spin-off? He says, I think this is a good question for Mark to answer. Put me on the spot, hands me the microphone. My brother is in the audience. I took him with me for the day. He drove me up there, and he's in the audience. And he said, when you gave your answer, you did hear a pin drop because you gave the wrong answer. Because all I said was, I would rather them not make a movie unless they're going to make it. If they're going to make a movie and make it badly, I'd rather they not make one.
Right.
They got to do it right, and it's such a sensitive subject. I'm not sure that we're going to have the right people involved to do Boba Fett service. That's all I said, and he said that was the wrong answer. You shouldn't have said that. But I said it's my honest answer. Like we were talking about. If you're going to ask me my opinion, I'm going to give you my honest opinion.
Right.
I'm not going to lie to you. If you ask me, you've got to be prepared for my answer because you're asking what's inside my head. This is inside my head. That's all I said was that. And so when The Mandalorian came out, I was so pleased that they thought, okay, Boba Fett's too sensitive a subject. I'm sure they thought, putting their heads together, Favreau and Filoni, let's have another Mandalorian. Let's show how the Mandalorians live first. Let's test the water. See how it works out. If the fans start loving it, then we know. And then we can maybe fold in Boba Fett and include him. Answer that question. Everyone at every con, I was asked, how cool was it to be Boba Fett? Did you escape the Sarlacc? They were the 2 most asked questions at cons. So now I can say, yes, he did. I've got an answer now. But I think they handled it so well. I think they did the right thing. they did it the right way. I can't fault how they reintroduced Boba Fett. You know, if some people pick some holes in. How come he didn't get his armor back quicker than he did? It doesn't matter. It works. It works like this.
I was so excited when The Mandalorian came out. And I enjoyed it. Some of it was kind of for me, but for the most part, I liked it. I'm very upset about what they've done to Gina Carano. I don't think it's fair. And she had a strong character. Everybody loved her. I don't have much faith in this Disney Star Wars, you know?
Yeah. Like I said, I was apprehensive about the whole Mandalorian show. And the first one just sold it for me, that first episode. There were some episodes that I thought it was kind of like watching Clone Wars, where arrive at a planet, get stranded on the planet, fix the ship, leave the planet. Those kind of episodes. So there's a bit too many of those.
This whole Twitter thing, my understanding, they're trying to cancel you and all this kind of mess. I just want your thoughts and your feelings about all this.
It's like you can say something pretty innocent and someone's going to read it. You know, it's like an email.
Mm-hmm.
Email kind of replaced conversation,
right?
Pretty much. But an email, you can write, you know, anything in innocence, and you could read that same sentence the worst possible way, the same wordage, and read it two completely different ways. And so Twitter always opts for the worst possible way. And I'm not sure if they're going to kick me off of Twitter. They've done before. They have done before. And when they did before, I was of the attitude of, well, I don't want to come back. I was the same as you. I was like, there's so much ridiculousness that can happen and does happen too often that I don't really care. A lot of the people that argued on Twitter were arguing from my account being reinstated. And so for those guys, I went back on. And, you know, there are good guys. You can't say all of Twitter, but, you know, those few people, there's a few people, bad people that mess it up for everyone else. And that's life, you know, that's life today in the world. And the few people that mess it up are the ones that always win.
Yeah. It's ridiculous because, you know, I wondered why, if there's just a small percentage of people that are causing all these problems with, you know, the whole cancel culture and mess like that, why doesn't everybody just stand up to it?
If people want to follow me, they like what I post, great. I try and keep it positive, try and keep it light, try and keep it funny. I just share all my passions. And if you don't like it, don't follow. Easy as that. You know, if I'm following someone and they put stuff on their feed that I don't agree with, I would not follow them. It's easy as that. Easy as that. So I don't understand why some people, they have to, you know, cause a wildfire because of their discontent. And it's like they ruin it for everybody. People are convinced that you are reading everything that they're writing about you. I don't follow what people are saying about me. I just post. I haven't got time. I'm a full-time movie maker. I'm making a movie right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you work 40 hours a week working on a movie, you don't have much time. The movie comes first,
right?
Then my family, and then when I got some free time, social media. So I haven't got time to watch YouTubes on people that are reacting to something I've said, or posts on Twitter, or arguments on Twitter over something I've said. I haven't got time to watch that. I was asked my opinion. I gave it. You should accept it, you know, or you know, don't ask me.
I totally agree.
Don't ask if you don't want to know. I said my piece and I left. Then people were mad at me because, you know, you should have said that and just left. Like, well, why? Why should I be invested in something you're interested in? You know, to this, you know, ballooned up idea of this great, you know, I'm sad. I would be devastated if they took slave one away from me. no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that warrants a week's worth of arguing.
Yeah.
Or a week's worth of people debating and being vicious. People have got nothing better to do. I think they've got too much time on their hands. I wish I had that much free time. In some ways, you feel like, okay, well, and that's why I was so hesitant to give an answer, because I know people will do this, and you get people bugging, and that, and so okay, well, I posted what I did as a means to kind of, I was hoping that maybe someone at Disney would see something I posted and realize there are people out there that aren't happy about the possibility of future rebranding, whether it happens or not. I'm not saying it is going to happen, I'm hoping it doesn't. But I was hoping that one of my posts would at least illustrate the ridiculousness of what they're trying to do.
Right.
But that was it. And it worked. I mean, I think Disney must have got the message, because it was in the Hollywood Reporter, it was in Newsweek. It was people in the UK were calling me saying, "I saw you on the news." Like, oh, really? I was completely unaware. That's great. That means that Disney must have heard by now.
Right.
Good. At least they know.
Has anybody tried to jack with your job over this?
Not yet. That's why when it happened, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to cease and desist out of respect for my employer.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was going to continue like a week-long slagging match, then it's unfair to my employer. All this happened on Sunday, late Sunday, and early Monday, and that was it. And after that, I was like, I'm not going to make this focus of my life. I have a movie to make. I have a obligation to Netflix. I work for them. And so out of courtesy to them, I just steered away from all the social media for 2 or 3 days, hoping that whatever ridiculousness was out there would blow over. Because I don't want it. I didn't ask for it, And
Well,
so so I'm hoping that I don't even know if it's still going on today. Like I said, I'm not interested in pursuing what people are saying. I don't care what trolls do, what trolls say. Like trolls, the only reason they exist is for getting some attention. I don't care if my Twitter numbers don't go up or drop. I don't care. They asked me if I was upset. Yeah, I'm upset. I'd hate to think that we never that name Slave One becomes taboo. Period. End of story. That should be the end of it.
Right. It should.
And here we are a week later, and people are still talking about it. It's like, come on.
Well, that's why I reached out to you. I wanted you to be able to say what you really felt.
Yeah.
Maybe squash this whole thing, but as well as I do, there's still those trolls out there. They're going to keep on and keep on.
If I could put anything to rest, I would just ask that people just, I think Disney got the message. Please stop. I think they got the message. It made Newsweek. It made the Hollywood Reporter. I'm sure someone at Disney in the high ups has thought, oh, they're not happy about this, and I think they got the message. Done. Success. A victory. Okay, let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on with the hope that we see that name on boxes, a die-cast Slave One with the word Slave One there. Let's hope it doesn't become taboo. But forget the arguments, forget I don't know, you said they're making YouTube videos over this. Come on. There's better things you could be making YouTube videos about. Something positive.
Well, they should get it from your mouth, not from something that's been written in the tabloids or the newspapers.
Yeah.
They should hear it from you.
Yeah.
They should see how you really feel about it.
This is me. I'm not ranting. I'm not outraged and throwing furniture around. I'm
Just very disappointed. You're
a
like
fan
me.
who is saddened by
Right.
the prospect of it. They are, in a nutshell.
For you to take time out of your day and away from your family to be on the show, I really, really appreciate it. I thank you for your honesty and being who you are.
Oh, thank you, man. I mean, it's nice to clear the air.
Yeah.
You know, because the press can say what they want and paint the picture they want, and so it's nice to be able to like say this is who I am. You know, so I'm thankful for that. So.
Well, you're very, very welcome. You deserve to be heard and not just the rumors that you hear. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone that watches the show and supports us. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Till the next one, take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network